Hello friends, today let us study new numbers that is called complex numbers. Now before this complex number, let us revise numbers which we have studied till 10th standard. So first set of numbers which we know is natural numbers which starts with 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tends to infinity. So these numbers we used to count generally. Then our Indian scientist Aryabhatji discovered new numbers that is 0. So when we add here 0, we will get whole number 0, 1, 2, 3, continue. Okay, so natural number and 0. So natural number belongs to this whole number. Next is set of integers. So that is what 0, 1, 2, 3, that means whole numbers and negative numbers. Continue. So all whole numbers belongs to set of integers. Next set of numbers is rational number. Rational number means what? Numbers which we can write in the form of P upon Q, where P and Q belongs to integers and Q is not equal to 0. Because if Q is 0, then that number is not defined. Okay, so condition is Q we don't want 0. Q we can write 1. So now suppose number is 3. 3 we can write 3 upon 1. 0 we can write 0 upon 1. Minus 2 we can write minus 2 upon 1. And that means all integers are rational numbers. Okay, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, all these are rational numbers that we call as fractionals. Now, next is what? Irrational number. What is irrational numbers? Set of numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring. Like pi. Pi, we know that pi is 22 by 7. Okay. If we divide 22 by 7, approximately we write 3.14, but that is not exact answer. Try that. Divide 22 by 7. You will never get remainder 0. Okay. So that is called non-terminating and non-recurring. Numbers are not like 3.111 or 222. So these are non-terminating and non-recurring. So we know that what is irrational number. Now, what is real number? All these numbers, that means all rational and irrational number, that is called real numbers. So this belongs to this belongs to this belongs to this. So all these numbers are rational numbers. Now rational and irrational numbers together are called as real numbers. Okay, so till 10th standard we have studied these numbers. So all numbers which we know that are real numbers. But there is one property of real number. Square of real number is never negative. Either it is positive or 0, like 0 square is 0, but it is non-negative. Now suppose equation is given x square plus 1 is 0. Then we can write x square is equal to minus 1. So here square of x is negative. And that means x is not real number. So this x is some new number which is not a real number. Okay, we can write here 1, 2, 3 any number. But if square is negative, then that is not a real number. So then what is that number? And so for that we are going to study about this complex number. Okay, so let us see definition of complex numbers. So when x square is minus 1, x we can write root of minus 1. So now here under root negative is given. This is not real number. This root of minus 1 is defined as I. I is root of minus 1. Okay. This is called imaginary unit. This is called imaginary unit, where I square is what? Minus 1. So remember these two things. I is root of minus 1 and I square is minus 1. Okay, this I is called imaginary unit. Okay, now suppose this is given here x square is equal to minus 1, but suppose now x square plus 7 is 0, that means x square is minus 7. Now how we can write x? So if square is negative, or we can say here x is root of minus 7, taking square root. So if under root minus number is given, negative number is given, that number we can write in terms of I now. Let us see how. Root of minus 7 we can write, this minus 7 we can write 7 into minus 1. And root AB we can write root A into root B, that we know. So this x we can write root 7 into root minus 1. Now root of minus 1 is I. So this is root 7 into I. I is not inside root. Okay. So x we can write root 7 into I. That means if x is root of minus 7, then we can write x as root 7 into I. Okay. Suppose now x is root of minus 3. How we can write this? We can write root 3 into I. Okay. So like root 3, this is what? A real number. So real number into I. Now again these numbers are defined as imaginary numbers. Okay. Imaginary numbers. So what is imaginary numbers? Numbers which are given in the form of bi, where b is a real number and I is root of minus 1. That means I into any real number. For example, we can write this root 3i, we can write 2i, okay, we can write pi into I, we can write half into I, etc. So any real number into I, that is called as imaginary number. Now what is complex number? So let us see now definition of complex number. So complex numbers are that numbers which are in the form of a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers and I is root of minus 1. Now b into I, if only b into I is given, that is called imaginary number. So that means if this part is not given, so bi is imaginary numbers, and this only a is what? Pure real number, only a. So we can say real numbers and imaginary numbers. When we write together, you can write plus or minus, then that is called complex numbers. So definition is numbers which we can write in the form of a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers and I is root of minus 1, that we know. So that numbers are called as complex numbers. For example, 3 plus 4i, or we can write root 1 by 2 plus root 3i, or we can write minus 3 by 2 and minus pi I. So a and b we can select any real numbers. So number we want in the form of a plus bi. So like here a is 3, b is 4. Here a is half, b is root 3. Here a is minus 3 by 2 and b is minus pi. And all these are real numbers. So this is definition of complex